let's delve now into Worlds a little bit. You're the president of the Worlds Council, stepping in for Doc, who had some medical things happening that he had to deal. So you've picked up that mantle there. We were supposed to go to Kuala Lumpur in, what year was that supposed to be? 2021 or 2020? It's hard to know now. A couple of years ago.
When was Belfort? Was 2017, so 2020 it was supposed to be.
2020. It was supposed to happen in 2020, and obviously things happened. We didn't get there. Where are we at with the Worlds? Is the consensus from the council that we want to continue to go to Malaysia? Do we want to move on? And what is our philosophy for selecting sites as well, in terms of, we can go to sites with an experienced community, or we can go to sites where there's an opportunity to grow grassroots or new communities. What's the philosophy of the council in terms of site selection as well?
As it is like from the start, it has been, I came in, I haven't been on the council super long. I joined in 2018. Back then the strategy was to host Worlds in a new geographical area to try to get a foothold for the sport, which they did in France, they did in Finland. Finland already had a scene, but Worlds helped, and they were supposed to do it now in Kuala Lumpur, and we had teams from Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand that were supposed to participate, right? Which would have been good if we could get all those 3 countries into the zone family. So the thought behind it was really good. So where we're going from here now is that we need to ask ourselves the question, like, should we go for the established countries and try to make Worlds a high-end tournament with all the tech and people on ground that knows, and site owners who knows what it's all about, or should we try to find other areas and try to expand on that, like to spread the sport? And it's always a tough call, because it's good for the sport, right, to go on the new frontier bit, but it's better for the players who's actually playing it to be at a site where they know that the people who work here and the site owner and whoever does tech know exactly how things should be. It eases a lot of things. So, but it's a democratic organization. So we have, I don't know how many council members we are now. It's New Zealand, Australia, the US, France, Sweden, and Finland. So there's 12 of us. So what will happen is that we will move on from Malaysia. We will not host that tournament. We are still settling some scores with them. Some council members are in contact with them regarding some details of our exit. And we will move on to somewhere else. So it will be the usual process with sites sending in what's it called, applications, just like in Australia or wherever, and then the council will vote on these. And it's actually up to every country to talk to their councilmen on where they want Worlds to go, and from there the council members will vote. And I know that we do have, like, we try to go, like, we do have, Sweden has never had Worlds, and New Zealand has never had Worlds, that is, and Germany has not had Worlds. So of course, it sounds good, like, but it's still a vote on where it ends up. There are no like real rules for it, but America has had it twice, for instance. So,
do we count the first one?
They insisted on it, so yeah. It's not helping them.
Well, just to put that into context, the first one was early 2000s, wasn't it? Was it early 2001? 2001, yeah. And then the second one in Finland was in 2009, and there was quite a big gap, and there was not really anybody at 2009 that was at 2001. There was a few players, but there was a majority of new players. So and then we went back to Syracuse in the US in 2011. But so some people joke around if 2001's counted, but of course it is. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. And I think for me, it was my biggest concern about Malaysia was the arena, and going to a place where there hasn't been a tried and tested competition before. And you know, we can always adapt and adjust, but as an enthusiast and a lover of laser tag, I was always going to go to Malaysia, and I totally like love the idea of having an Asian contingent in our family. So that would always override my, you know, concerns about the arena. But yeah, as a player and a competitor, my instinct is, oh my gosh, are we going to get an arena that is going to actually allow the best teams to win, essentially. We don't want an arena where the result might be affected by the fact that the arena is not that even, or that it's you know, it can be compromised in some way. So yeah, that's it is a massive discussion. I don't know the answer to that. I think it just needs more conversation between people and getting people's views on it publicly about, you know, because we do need to get the best, you know, to be a Worlds, we really want to get the best players and best teams there, don't we? So we do have to honour that desire from the top players and the top teams from each country at the same time. So hopefully we can find something that kind of ticks both boxes. I love the idea of going to Germany. I think that, you know, how far they've come as a scene over the last 10 years, to be able to go to a place like Germany would, you know, be a great recognition of the work they've done there. But I'm not sure what's happening at a local level there. Would it really give any other surrounding countries a boost, or yeah, I'm not aware of whether that would be the case. But anyway, is there any locations kind of on the list of possible possibilities at this stage?
No, we haven't progressed that far that we're actually sending out the applications. We do have a few topics that needs to be discussed first. But I know, like, if I remember correctly from last time, I know Dunedin was interested. And I know that there's German sites that are interested, and I know Philadelphia was interested. I didn't actually hear that from the site owner. I heard it from the players, but I know Stockholm wants to, but they need to get their system in place. And well, that's from, like, what I heard so far, but you never know, you know. Some might have, you know, pulled out, and some might have joined in. You know, we'll see that once the application opens.
Yep. Oh, well, I might add, I'd also be totally behind a Swedish Worlds as well, for the same reasons I mentioned before. It'd be great to go to Sweden. It's a recognition of the contribution you guys have made over the years, and yeah, we haven't been there yet, so why not, essentially. So yeah, what do you think with Worlds? Kind of, what's the way forward for Worlds? What, in terms of the tournament itself? You know, when you first start any new tournament, right? You're starting from ground zero. So in terms of the, you know, our ability to attract the best teams and the quality of the management of the tournament, what do you think the next sort of, how are we going to enhance the Worlds in that respect going forward?
The Worlds is based on the old American settings, which is not a setting that exists. Well, there's no 8-3 anywhere in the world. We still have 8 because of Australia, right? And we have 3 second stamps because of the rest of the world. We have reloads for America and Australia, and we have like 2 shots a second for elim for Europe, and it goes a little bit like that. The problem with Worlds is that it's a format that does not exist in the rest of the world.
So true. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a non-existing format. So regardless of where you end up in the world, you can be sure that nobody actually plays the true world settings, unless they're practicing for Worlds. That is something that is a problem. So the way that we did settings right now, it might be interesting for some to know. So we have actually gone through. We had a group with players from, like, we had I think it was Popeyes, and we had what's his name? Gizmo was from Australia, and Dark Omen, myself, and I think it was Punisher from the US, and we just went through all the settings in all the formats. And we had what is it now, what we want it to be, and if somebody wanted to change, we would vote on it, just to get like a consensus on the settings. So everyone was in, like Australia had a guy representing, New Zealand had, like everyone was in, and there was discussions, and the outcome is still not a setting that is existent, you know. So either, I don't actually know how to get past that part, because we do play differently all around the world. So, and nobody really wants, just for the, like, even if, like, let's say the Aussie way of playing comp, nobody would really let it go all the way there, right? We don't want to put all the eggs in that basket. Like, we don't want everything to go to Europe, and we don't want everything to go to America. So it's sort of a pull thing. So I think we would actually have to start there. I'm not sure how, but in some way we need to get the world's format to be a format that resembles however we play in the rest of the world. And until we play the same in the whole world, it's not theoretically possible. The second would be to find the thing is, you put Worlds in Europe, it's not going to be many Australian teams, right? You put Worlds in Australia, there's not going to be many European teams. You need to enable in some way teams to participate. We can see in Australia, the best team, well, now it's Catalyst, but let's say Wolfpack for the sake of because everyone knows who they are, right? I mean, what's the average age? Like, can they afford a 2-week trip to Europe just like that? I mean, it's really hard, right? That is also something, it should be accessible, and that is also something that's not easily solved. There need to be some way of getting money into it from a third party, and that's not really where we are right now. So there's a lot of these things to work out, to get the old school players, because they're picky, right, with the formats and the settings, and the young players who are really willing to play anything, but they don't have the funds for it. I think that is the main problem that we have, and the way forward from that is above and beyond my knowledge, really.
It's a tricky question, because I think one of the beautiful things about the sport as well is, you have this European style game, and then you have this Australasian style game, you might call it, and they're both beautiful in their own way. And I think that's something worth valuing, is the diversity as well, the ability to play the game slightly different in different countries, I think is great. So this idea of blending all into, the problem with it though is this exact thing where trying to get a consensus on a world's format is difficult. If in another galaxy, where if laser tag players didn't mind playing 2 different sets of settings in the same tournament, we could actually play both game styles, which would be interesting. But generally, laser tag players aren't a massive fan of that, doing that. But that's possibly one of the only solutions I can kind of think of at the moment.
I've been thinking about that as well. Like, I think that's a viable idea, but it comes down to 2 things. It's that bases that you use for 1 shot per second and bases that you use for 2 shots per second, they are, from what I understand, not having played Aussie Nats, of course, but are vastly different. What works for a 1 shot per second game as a base is not really good for a 2 shots per second, and vice versa. That would be a problem. We would need to have bases that can be, like, the lines need to be redrawn in a good way, and then we need to have a lot of influence of how the arena layout is. That would be the first problem. The second would be time issues. Now, I'm a huge fan of 15-team competitions. I think it's the best number. So if we could actually have a 15-team competition, then it would be doable. But as it is now, we are aiming for a higher number, and then it's not possible anymore, unless you do it half-heartedly, which is not a good way to go. discussions has been like we should remove the triples format. This is just on the table. This is not decided, and instead add the Aussie doubles, for instance, with Aussie settings. Would still need bases that would translate good into that, but like things like it's the easiest way is to work with the side events, right? That's where you usually end up. But to another option would be to just get rid of a few side events and expand on the comp and diversify that. That would be a way to go if there's time and there's not too many teams. It's possible.